The idea of the government is to virtually tax it on a flat basis, right? They have a thought process that no expenditure or even the loss which comes from even from similar kind of transactions is something which should be allowed when you're having a gain in dealing with such assets, right? That is the thought process. So in terms of income tax, we always had a distinction between things like whether a particular trade would be taxable as a capital gain or business income, right? So, and there used to be different treatments in that respect. There used to be different rates in that respect. Now, all that is something which we don't see in these sections. The distinction does not exist. There's a flat rate of 30%, irrespective of how you hold these assets, right? That is the first part of it. The second part of it is that when we talk about day trading or say holding it for the long term, right? Again, the distinction does not appear to be there. We can draw some distinctions and we can go into the finer prints of that. But from the way they are defining these two sections Badri spoke about, they are not trying to make any distinction between any sort of trader. Now, if we go into the finer prints, there are certain sections in the Income Tax Act which talk about set-off of losses if it's coming from the same source. To be precise, it's section 70 which talks about that. So we can argue that, okay, if a day trading is happening and when we are doing the trade immediately in succession, then possibly this section should kick in and you should be allowed to set off the losses. But the section which is 115 BBH, which talks about taxability, does not allow you that flexibility, in my opinion, right? Because it is pretty stringent in that sense. One of the things which we need to consider is that before we go into the taxation aspect of this entire thing, we need to understand the technology also, right? So from what I understand of the technology, we are looking at cryptocurrencies right now, but blockchain is beyond that, right? Blockchain is being used for various things. It's in concept, as the name indicates, it's a chain of information being placed in blocks, right? That is what it is all about. And when we talk about the technology as such, it's a successive chain, which every transaction getting recorded. So to give an example, if you are transferring crypto to me and then I am transferring it to Krishan, then these transactions would be recorded in the chain at different point in time, we can say, right? And that is what allows us to transfer partial part of these assets also, because they're fungible. You can transfer any bit of them because it's more about recording the technology in that chain. And there a pertinent question arises that they have defined, as Badri said, virtual digital asset in a very, very detailed manner. And as he used the term, a tongue twisting manner, because it includes virtually everything. Information is there, token is there. So everything is there in that definition. So the point which comes is that, can we say that even when the day trading is happening, in the buy which you do and the sell which you subsequently do, these are two different assets we are talking about. And that is, in my opinion, would be the case, because when you buy it, it becomes part of the blockchain as an information tagged to your wallet, which you hold on an exchange. And then when you sell it, it's a different transaction. So the government would say that these are, so if you made gain on selling it, right, a particular VDA, that gain is different from a loss which you made on another VDA, because these two transactions got recorded in a different manner on the blockchain. And there they would say that it will be difficult to take recourse of, say, section 70, where we can broadly say it's the same source, but the government would have a counter argument to say that it's a different VDA. So that is the technical aspect. As I said, things are not clear. We are at a very nascent stage. It has been introduced to tax these transactions. And as things go by, all these arguments would evolve. That how would other sections play? And when we talk about not allowance of any expenditure, we have precedents in the income tax code on such sections. The section just before this section, which is 115 BBG, which talks about taxation of carbon credits, similarly disallows any sort of expenditure while computing your income. So a lot of questions around it. It will evolve as the time goes by. But I think we'll have to understand this entire taxation very closely with the technology which is there. We cannot actually distinguish between the two. This will be one of those challenges for chartered accountants and for all the people who deal in taxation, that they'll be required to first understand the technology to interpret how it would be taxed.